the opportunity to share your expertise today, and you can say, this is what I've tried, this is what's worked for me. I'm going to cover specifically Google Apps for Education. Those are going to be the first couple of things that I go over. But then I'm going to take you into even more from Google. And much in the same way, if you watched Madeira or Sean, I'm going to walk you through a few things. But I'm not pitching, for the back or for too close to the front. So my brand new beginners, if I'm going too fast, just say something. Or, grab somebody else. And for the people who are way, way advanced, great, share. Because there's going to be 2 opportunities to share, provided that that works and happens. It's coming. Okay. Yeah, they're getting there. So again, Google Apps for Education, but then how to add more Google Apps than maybe some of them you've already seen, and then third-party apps. So if you're not already working with some third-party apps, I am not really going to go into add-ons. I am, however, going to touch on Chrome extensions. So if you don't already use Chrome as your web browser, some of the things I'm going to show you might make you interested in trying Chrome out. Some additional functionality that you can add. Any questions before we begin? Hey, fantastic. And can everybody hear me, and can everybody see this? Because I can make it larger if you can't see it.
Janine, could you share that window from the Hangout?
Of course.
And you want to tear away that tab?
I'm going to tear this tab away, and then I'm going to share it to where, Dan?
Go to your Hangout. Left-hand side, green thing. Select that window. You can now minimize that Hangout.
Thanks, Dan.
You're welcome.
And can you see it just fine, Dan? By the way, if you're tweeting, we do have 2 different hashtags that we're recommending you use as the GAFE, not GAFFE, although I'm sure I'm going to make a gap or 2. I already covered who I am and some of the things that I've done. We're not going to pack it too heavy, so there should be an opportunity for you to participate. Your mileage may vary. I think you've already seen this earlier today, that not everything you're being shown you may have access to, but you might be able to access some of these things in your own personal Gmail account. So, don't just toss it out the window. A few things that we're going to cover: Docs, Forms, Google+, Google Image, yada, yada, yada. There's plenty going on here. Show of hands, though. Was anybody in Sean's 1230 Google Drive 101? And did you pick up anything new in that session? Okay, because that's my hope and my goal here, that you take away 1 or 2 gems. Same thing, 130 sheets for graphing. Was anybody in that one? No? No? Okay. Because I don't want to step over or show things that you already got a good view of. So I'm going to launch right in to a couple of things that I think you can do with Google Apps in your classroom. Docs, obviously, you can have your students using Docs. You can have your students working together in a collaborative way by creating a doc and sharing it out to them, and they can all work in that same doc. So you can really get students working together depending on what your goal is, what the assignment is. And the nice thing is then you're just looking at the one doc. It's also nice because you can see who participated, who shared. And I might go back and show you that if anybody's interested later, to see how do you know who shared. So keep that in your head if you want to see that. Forms, I like using forms because you can share out a form. Oops, sorry. Dan, you're not going to be able to see that, are you?
I am seeing it, actually.
You are seeing it?
Yeah, anything in that window, if it's tabbed, I'll see it over
Okay,
here.
so you can see this one.
This one, yes.
If you have something you do routinely as an instructor, as a teacher, and you need some feedback, some information maybe from your colleagues, you can set up a form. This is a link at the very bottom of our website. I support the website. And there's so many people on our team, and they see things. There's hundreds of pages on our website. They see things that need to be fixed or need to be changed. They can click on this form. It's going to ask them what page were they looking at, what did they see? Very simple. Something need to be corrected, something need to be added, and then what I see comes into a form and it tells me when was it submitted, what was the page that needed editing, and also what would they like done. Then what can I do? I can make notes for myself. Did I complete it? So that's just a quick and easy way that you could use forms with your colleagues. But maybe you could use forms with some of your students as well, if you have them working together. Maybe they make a form so that they can get some input from other members of their student body. Can you think of some ways that students might do that, either for some assignments you have them or at school? Extracurricular activities where they might want other students to participate, so sign-up forms, they can use Google Forms. If they need people to volunteer, they can use Google Forms. If you want to manage certain things about your classroom, does anybody have things in your classroom like students have to do certain things on a daily or weekly basis? Do you have them clean your classroom? Yeah? Because I went to high school and elementary school, and I was always assigned something. So you can use forms to assign and then the associated spreadsheet to see who signed up for what. So that's just an example there. Google Plus. We can start our own little community, but it is important to note that if you want your students sharing in Google Plus, they're going to have to be 14 years of age or older. Okay? So there are some things to think about. Who in my room is in K-12? Okay, so, and UAF or higher education? Okay, so some of you have to think about these things. Can your students even use that tool? Not just do you have it turned on at your school district, but can it be used? I'm going to show you Google image search, and I have two examples for that. Has everybody already used Google image search? No? Let's say I am at the tab and I'm looking for HR bullying information, bullying images. Okay, things that I may or may not want to use in a bullying activity or stop bullying. Well, that's a quick way to do your search, but there are search tools. And from the search tools, come on up. From the search tools, of course. I had to hit one of them, right? Okay. I just went to images.google.com because I got a little flustered there, and I know that's where I can do this search. So, bullying. Now, I have advanced search and search settings. I probably had it a moment ago too, but when I get distracted, I get a little flustered. Under advanced search, you have a whole bunch of options where you can look for things such as file type. If you only want to use JPEG, only want to use PNG, only want to use GIFs. But for me, I pay more attention to usage rights. That's a little small. And you might want for your students to learn a little bit about usage rights, copyright, and what they can or cannot do. So you could point them to images, how to find images that they are free to use. No worries. Or share, use, modify. And you can do that with Google image search. But one of the neat things that I like to do with the Google image search is the reverse. So I'm going to get out of advanced. I found advanced over on the edge, underneath the cog. Remember from some of the other sessions, where to even find things? Search settings. But this image here is search by image. So I like to find things where somebody may have sent me an image and I'm looking for something similar. And I did have an exact example of that, where I'm going to upload an image. Someone asked me, hey, could you use this in your presentation? So I'm like, where'd you get it? And they go, I don't know. I just pulled it off the net. So I need to go and find some information about where they found it. So someone sent me a whole bunch of images. I don't know where they got them. But I can take that image, I can upload it to Google, and then look for the image. Visually similar, this is the exact image. So if I click on that, then I can visit the page where they found it. Well, maybe that image could be used on thousands of pages if it came from iStock. But I could also go back and look for similar images where then I can see what's the copyright. So maybe I can't use her exact image, but I can find others. In terms of using this in school, something that I would recommend if you're trying to teach kids about where images go or how far they can go, not uploading pictures of themselves, etc. If somebody has already uploaded a picture of themselves, you could have them look for that same image and see where else that same image might have been used. So that's just kind of an interesting thing because, like I said, teach ethics, or I used to teach computers and society and ethics. And is that the window you're seeing? I'm sorry, you asked me that.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on. There's plenty to cover. Sheets. You've already seen some ways that people use sheets earlier today, but if you are stuck, something that I came across that I thought was worth telling you about, sheets. Well, have you ever made a sheet, made a document, spent a lot of time building, say, your lesson plan in a document? There are templates that have been created by Google, so you can use Google's templates. And I actually linked this to an example that I like, where I can use this template, or I can go back to the template gallery. But I thought this was a great use of sheets. It's a person's schedule. So either for your students or for you. But inside of the template gallery, now I'm looking at UAF's template gallery, and it's going to have public templates, but it's also going to have templates that have been uploaded by your organization. So for you and your colleagues, for efficiency, if you make something that you think is great, you might want to upload that as a template so that other people can use it. But if you are in a hurry, you might go and take a look under the public templates and see whether or not there's already a pretty cool template for spreadsheets. You can narrow this down and then look at what it is you're interested in. Spencer Cord's got a finance class. Instead of building it from scratch, start with the template. Okay, so this is a 2-for-1, not just a way to use Sheets in the classroom, but how you can gain access to a lot of templates for all of the different Google apps. Has anybody ever been in that one before?
So how do you get there without clicking on your link?
Let me show you. That's an excellent question. Do you think it's this easy? Yeah? Maybe not. Drive.google. This is my organization. Drive.google.com, where we've got ours stored. Then there is a directory templates. But if I go to the public templates, it should take me, no, it didn't take me out to Google public templates. But in a sense it did. Google. So, and this was the one I wasn't going to remember, docs.google.com/templates. So if you're looking for it, docs.google.com/templates. But again, what did it do? As soon as I followed that link, it sent me to my installations collection. You've already heard from Sean about Google Drive, but I want to hit home the fact that you can store any file type in Google Drive. What does that mean to you if you're teaching a biology class, if you're teaching an art class, if you're teaching web design? Any class. So it doesn't matter whether or not it was a Google Doc that was created or a Google file, any of the files that you might want your student to have access to, you can put in to Google Drive as a space to share it with them. So I would just think a little larger. That's very hard to read, that light text there. It says Google Drive and any end product are perfect for storage and organization. So if you create a folder and you share that folder with your students, whatever you put in that folder.
And then it just has to be a Google Doc to edit it?
Oh, if you're editing, that's a different thing. For storage or for them accessing it, it can be any file type. For editing, updating, that's different. So if there's something you want them to read, if there's something you want them to view, or maybe there's a TIFF file for artists, if there's something you want them to start with, download, and work on. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So really, I'm thinking about storing your lesson plans in a folder, but then grouping all of the items in that folder that go with that lesson plan. So organization, you can keep it all together. It doesn't matter whether or not it was a Google Doc or a Google spreadsheet. I meant to erase Google Scholar from here because I don't use it. Does anybody in here use Google Scholar? What have you used it for, Kathy? Just searches? Okay. And is there a question from the back? You've used it? No?
We just learned about it
Oh, okay.
in another class.
Okay. I meant to delete it because, like I said, I don't use it, but I probably should have. I'm working on a master's, and I know that Google Scholar would have helped me refine my searches for literature. But since I don't use it, I'm not going to show it to you. What I do want to show to you, I'm going to talk about Draft in a moment, but I want to show Google Photos because I'm so excited about this. Jennifer does have a wonderful session tomorrow about photos and all sorts of things to do with photos. But I recently discovered, because I was filling up my Drive, my Google Dropbox, I was filling everything up with photos of my son. I recently discovered that I could, put all my photos into Drive. What I didn't know is that it would make these wonderful little magic GIFs for me. It would do the work for me. And I discovered it on accident I saw something, this little sparkly icon, a little hard to see, but I saw a sparkle icon and I kind of wondered, wait a second, what was that? Google, because it had access to my images, was cleaning them. And if I took enough images where it was almost the same framework, it was shoving them in and making animated GIFs for me. So I thought that that was really interesting, but I kind of wonder how you might be able to use that with students. Can you think of any way that you would have them use photos in Google?
Like time lapse.
Time lapse? Okay. Maybe in a science class, snow melting, something along those lines. You'd have to tell them and have them play with it that they would have to set up and be taking those images from the same point. Maybe animation, maybe illustrating a point with claymation. I mean, this puts some things right in a student's, ability in a short period of time. If Google's going to do the work of making the GIF. I do really, really like this particular product, and it's Lucidchart. I'm going to show you how to add apps, but I want to point out that not all apps are available. And that is one of them that isn't necessarily going to be available. Where was it? Notice how this says app not allowed. Contact your admin to get approval to install the app. So in some cases, things are not going to work for you, but you will get notification as to why. And if you like that, well, then you can go to your own personal account, play with it, try it out before asking the administrator to add it, because you want to have reasons why they might add it. So how do we add apps? I want to show you a couple of things, because we're about to have you try some things, if you haven't already. When you're in your own Gmail account, when I get lost, I go to my mail, because that's where my grid, Madera was saying waffle, that's where my waffle is located. And then I can see the things that I have, my Google apps that I use most. The Google apps are showing up on top. But if you click the More button, then you see more. These are less often used. You can move them around. So if you use Sheets a lot, you can move it around. If you use Translate more, you can move it around. But as we scroll down, there's even more from Google. So if you've heard something that people have talked about today, but you don't have it and you want to try it out, I would encourage you to go in, go to that grid, go down to even more from Google. These are going to be the Google apps. And you can click and add. So if there was something that you heard of that you were interested in, image search, you can click on it. Now I already have that added, so it's not asking me to add it. So I have to choose something that's not in there. Hi, Scholar. Oh no. Something I just added Keep yesterday. I love that. 2 days ago I added it. Okay. Google Cloud Print. Try it now. Okay, so you're going to be taken through a step where it's going to ask you a few things, like whether or not it has permission to do things. When you're adding a new Google app, it will ask you. I'm not going to suggest that you do that one. I've never touched it. But when you go in and you're looking for these apps, a quick way to get to it is More from Google. That's going to take you to Google's collection of apps. And then as I scroll down, you'll see more apps from the marketplace. There are third-party apps. And this is why you see Lucidchart, one of the ones that I like. I like templates. I like flowcharts. It's a third-party app, so one of the reasons why maybe that's not accessible is because it's not from Google, it's a third party. But I could grab it, test it out. I'm going to click on one I don't have loaded so you can see what happens before you try any of this. Notice it says install app. So that's the first thing you're asked. I've actually been curious because app's not allowed. I didn't log in, Dan, to one of our accounts, or would that have let me?
I don't see the add more
You don't
on
see
the
the app?
UAF. I mean, I got the more and I have the Google approved, but I'm not seeing the.
Kathy, when you scroll down, you don't see even more?
Janine, have you
No, I
used that
got
app
the even more
previously?
from Google, but then all it is just Google allows.
Okay, you're not seeing more apps from the marketplace.
So,
Okay. Well, in my case, I'm pretty sure unless I was in my personal account, which I'm going to go grab, I'm going to go into my personal account. In my personal account, it should allow me to do this. One moment. Okay, so from my personal account, I still have access. Go down, more, even more from Google. Oh, you're right. And it's not showing me the App Store in my personal account. That's interesting.
It showed me a 911 store.
Oh, and it did show it to you? Okay, but you might run into not being able to download.
All it showed was classroom.
Okay. So everybody, again, this is one of those examples where depending on what installation you have, or whether you're using the Google Apps for Education or your own commercial account, you might have access to more or different things. But it doesn't mean that you can't. Go ahead, Kathy.
yeah, I'm sorry, the question before you leave that, so we're in that even more.
Yes.
And we see things that we would actually like
To test
on the
out.
waffle. How do we add it to the even more list to get it up onto our waffle?
If it's something that you haven't used before, when you click on it, it should ask you whether or not to add it. It's asking for permission, but I have clicked on a whole bunch of these, if not most of them. I've used them over the past couple of years for one reason or another. I don't think I've ever used AdWords. So in AdWords, it's saying start now. So you're looking for something that says yes, okay, because it's not going to just add it. So it'll tell you some information, what it is, it'll give you benefits or how it works, maybe some screenshots. So anytime you click on it, you're not automatically saying, give this to me. You're just going to look at it. So everybody, I think, in the room has a device. You might not all have the same type of device. What I'd like is for you to take the next couple of minutes to get an app. And you might choose to just get a Google app, but something a little lower might be interesting to you. You could try one of the things I already showed you if you thought it was interesting, or try something new. But I want you to play with it. Only choose something you're interested in. You're going to be led through two different steps. One, it'll show you some information about it and ask you if that's what you want. And you're accepting, you're saying yes, if it's one that you want. Take a few minutes to play, and then I'm going to ask for anyone to report back if you found something you like. And reporting back is from the standpoint of would you use it in your classroom? So, Kathy, this is an opportunity where I can come and look over your shoulder for the next couple of minutes. Play with this. You're looking for a Google app or a third-party app. And anybody that has any questions, I am going to move off of this slide though in a moment.
Okay, so we're here, and it's not on something. Which one? I was thinking it's these are all Google apps. All now. Yeah, portal. We'll say here. So she wants to play. It's like, we'll have to already. She's just using charts. So once you start seeing, you go down to school. I might go back and then that for you. Like when I went to there is no real business. So I see what I'm trusted. I like to as myself. So how do I? Oh, I did have, I looked at but if you make this sign you're using your phone. Yeah. Oh, okay, so you're gonna. So can I make it a call? I can make it Julia. And then. And for the purposes of planning around your sons. Oh. Yes, you see there. Because it's a preference. And I see if I can try one.
Has everybody found something? Maybe not everybody's found something. Okay, and if you haven't found something, if you're running into not having permissions, then the next thing that I'm going into, which is Google extensions for Chrome, if you have Chrome, you should be able to try some of those things out. So just in case you're running into a problem finding something or being able to add it, don't worry, there's still playtime and discovery.
moving forward. Just see what we're seeing. When you said that. Thinking everything. So then
It's just on the very bottom.
I know that in some of them,
So when they open up docs, it's just one of the things along the cross the top of that.
is so frustrating. You take in a classroom space in the classroom space.
So that whole area.
Can they take it off the line and add it to, it's been installed. So it's already been installed. We're gonna find what's there and add it.
Yeah, I think that, Jenny, can you speak to that?
Yep, absolutely. Because I heard, yeah, so I want to cover that a little bit in just a moment. Did anybody find anything that they were able to, one, open? No. Two, play? Yes? Would you like to tell people what you found?
I just went to that same, you recommended lucid chart. I went to the store and found a lucid chart for educators.
Okay.
I use thinking maps in the classroom, so it seems to be an easy way to create my own original thinking maps.
There you go. Okay. Decision trees, when you say thinking maps, I think things like fishbone diagrams, but I don't know if that's what you mean.
Just to
Mind mapping?
think, yeah, from flow charts to brainstorming.
What's your name?
Liz.
Liz. So Liz was able to install and open up Lucid Charts. Maybe not everybody can, in terms of Google Apps for Education, but if it's something that you do like or do try and enjoy, remember that you could use it as an educator and then save the image. You can save the image and then have your students work with that or draw on top of it, etc. So just because there's some things that are going to be limited for your students, if you see something you like, you can find a little bit of a way around it. I overheard, and what's your name? Cheryl. I overheard Cheryl say, I found something, but was it a Google add-on or a Google app?
Do it either way. It's your choice. And a little bit different, I'm the admin for our Google account, so I was making it available to staff and students by putting it in I wanted it available to them. I chose it, I okayed it, but now do we want it to show up in the waffle, or do we want it to show up in an add-on? I was just being for best practice.
Okay, for the most part, I put add-ons in my third tier, tertiary. People tend to have more problems with add-ons. It doesn't mean that there aren't good add-ons. It's just when you've got people getting started with this, start them with the Google apps, move to third-party apps that are still going to be very accessible to them through that waffle, through that grid. And then I go to Chrome extensions because Chrome extensions are fairly easy to find. My Chrome extensions are here. They're right on the bar. And then I look at add-ons as the last. So that might help you answer that. And for those of you who are using Macs, you might be able to see that there's more than one way to get to your apps. Add-ons, you have to be inside of that item. And I'm going to go into one and show you so that you can see why I might say use that last. Inside, and I've shared my whole desktop, so this is pretty messy to the people who may be watching this. Apologies for that. But I'm going to go into Docs. I'm going to pretty much open up the very first doc I see, so hopefully this will be good. Nothing weird or bad. And I have an add-on for Google Docs. It is located under the add-ons menu. I have to, however, be in the doc to see that. And I have to have turned on the add-on. Of the add-ons I like, the only ones that I recommend to beginning people, MindMeister for mind maps, Kaizena if you want to give verbal feedback on a document. But then a person has to go into it, turn it on, or access it, or turn it on, and it takes some of the real estate. Here's manage bibliography with EasyBib. Okay, and it's going to take some of your screen real estate. So does that help answer your question?
Yes. I think in the past I've downloaded Translate.
Okay.
And Translate was very nice for the Spanish class. I could send my school website to them in Spanish, and they have to learn to get around and things like that. So when I worked in Delta, they had you could open the website in English or Russian. So that was helping those families.
Okay, so Translate, if you find an add-on where you can really see good use for it, then you might do something like make a screencast. I'm transitioning into Chrome extensions.
And yes, and yeah,
Yes, and you make a screencast because if you're going to use that kind of a tool, you're going to have to show your students and your other faculty how to get there. How do I even access that add-on? That's why I put it. I'm not saying add-ons are bad. I just put them lower on the list because of accessibility, top of mind awareness, if you will. Okay, so moving on.
It's really nice for pen pals across the nation, across the world.
Being able to speak in other languages, etc., or write in other languages. I really did choose poorly with this gray. Can everybody see the gray on the white? That's a little hard. If you're wondering whether or not you've ever used Chrome extensions, what are Chrome extensions? Okay, making Chrome more powerful, making your Chrome web browser be able to do more things, like little widgets for Chrome. If you're wondering whether or not you've used it, you can log into your Gmail account, and then inside of Chrome, so you have to have your Chrome web browser open, go to Chrome extensions. And it will show you which extensions you have turned on, which ones you've downloaded, which ones you've enabled, And in some cases, this is where you're going to go when you decide after playing with things, that's not for me, I don't need it up there taking up real estate, I'm never going to use it again, so you can delete it. I'm going to delete and pin it. I don't pin as much as I used to. All that's going to do is remove it from here. I can go ahead and put it right back. When I said from here, sorry, I meant in the top next to my URL location bar. So my buttons, my accessible buttons.
Didn't you have Google Docs up there though? Is that still under that
I do
bar
have it
here? Do you have to click on the 3 bars to get to that one?
Oh, in terms of how do I?
Yeah, or will it have its own button up there next to where you had the thing?
It will still have it here. Not all of them will show up. I have way too many, first of all, to show up on the top. And some of them where they're Google Apps versus Chrome extensions, the Google Apps are going to show up here. The Chrome extensions. You can use these things in some cases more than one way. You might only want to install it one way. And I can show you an example of what I mean by that. You're going to see from here that I have a link to my Drive, a link to Google Docs, a link to these other things, just because I need to get to things quickly.
Okay, I thought your Google Docs was in your extension.
Oh, because I went to Chrome extensions?
Yeah, so it's in your extensions spot.
Well, I've enabled it, and I can create and edit documents, but it should have been enabled for my Google Apps for Education anyway.
Okay.
Something that I do recommend as a third party, as a Chrome extension, but only if you are very bad with spelling or grammar. Check, and I mean bad with spelling or grammar. Check out Grammarly. The reason why I suggest only if you're bad is Grammarly slows everything you do down, because it checks every single thing you're typing. So if I am making edits to a slide, Grammarly, if Grammarly's turned on, it's checking my spelling, it's checking my grammar, it's giving me recommendations. But it's a nice extension. Okay. So that's how you're going to check and see if you've already used some of the Google Chrome extensions. Some of the ones that I recommend you look at, Draft is a Chrome extension, which is like Grammarly, but less annoying. Draft turns any of your field entry areas into a place where you can draft some work and see whether or not your spelling is correct, your grammar is correct. But it's not as annoying as Grammarly. I know, bad, right? But I'm just telling you from my experience. Chrome Web Developer, does anybody make web design, any web pages, or have your students do it? A couple of you do? The Chrome Web Developer inside of Chrome itself is available underneath. So if you're in Chrome, you don't have to turn this on. It should be available. But if it isn't, you can go to Chrome extensions. It should be available under View, Developer, Developer Tools. And what the Chrome developer, web developer does is a considerable amount of things. But it allows your students or you to look at the underlying code of whatever it is, to look at the CSS related to that code. So if you like a specific color or you want to see how somebody did something, what is that font? You could use this. For example, I'm going to a less busy page to do this. Instead of view source, which probably most of you have done, that just shows you the HTML code. Looks like this. Very hard to find things. Instead of using that product, You can go to View, Developer Tools. It will bring up a panel, and you can do a little magnifying glass all the way over on the left, and just look at the thing that you're interested in, and it takes you to that specific part of the code. It highlights, oh, the highlight's not showing up there. There. And it also shows you the CSS. So I don't want to go into it too much, because if you don't do web design, that's going to be not interesting. But if you have your students do any coding, or if you like testing or playing things, you can actually use this tool and try out different colors and make edits in the tool itself and see what would happen. Socrative, I'm running out of time, and it's such a great tool. Oh, you already know. Socrative. Okay, let's go there. Since I'm sharing my desktop, this should still be showing up to the people online. Socrative.
Is it an app?
Huh?
Is it an app?
It's a third-party tool. So you would find it under the Even More, or you can search for Socrative. But Socrative, I have linked my presentation in, so you can go back and look at any of my slides and follow any of my links. Because Socrative, we have a, what does Rorik teach? Engineering?
Civil,
Engineering?
mechanical.
And civil engineering. We have a professor on campus that uses Socrative, and he wrote a teaching tip about how he uses it to sort of check his students right during the class to see whether or not they're getting the concepts. He'll throw up a quick question, and the students can see who's answering A, B, C, or D. It's kind of like one of those poll things. And you see them all of a sudden, you see the numbers changing as the students go, oh, more people are answering A. Sometimes they change their answers. But he can see while he's talking to them whether or not they're getting the concept. He can then move backwards a little bit and either delve in more, because he can see. It's kind of a way to be interactive with your students. But that's only one thing. Somebody said, yes, you use it.
Where they don't see the other people's,
Uh-huh.
and you can decide when they do it. My age group, they decide they can do it on their cell phones, they can do it on iPads, they can do it on, you know, and when you tell kids they can get their cell phones out, you've already won.
So different devices. You can use it on different devices. And what is it? There is LinkedIn from the Google Slides. The handout that Rorik made on it. How about your recommendations? Are there any Google apps or Google, non-Google apps that you use in your classroom that you'd like to share? Kicked you off the network?
Yeah.
I had that happen in this room 3 times. Thankfully not standing here. You guys are a little quiet. It's a little hot. It's getting later in the day.
Is there an app for curating your social networks? Google, like Hootsuite, or, you know, they have an app that works like a curator?
Yes, and I'm thinking, I know Chris Lott recommended one, and it's not coming to mind. On Thursday, there's a 90-minute session, a few of our favorite things, that has that in there. Okay. I'm running out of time, but there are 2 things I would really like to show you. They are third party, but I would recommend you play with one of these products.
What is their name?
Their names are Storybird. So you could go to storybird.com to learn about it. I had a student sitting at my desk the other day, and together we were just talking, and we made a short book while we were talking. So if you've got people and you've got a writing class, poetry class, the need to get your students quickly engaged with a topic, you might look into Storybird because the images are available and they're just seeing an image and they're writing about it. So I would just encourage you to look at Storybird, but then also take a look at the biodigital. And the reason why I mention the biodigital is because of the videos that are in it and the explanation that is in it. Let's see if I can quickly go there. I know what I'm doing. I'm taking the 5 minutes from the front, right? No, that's cheating. Okay, biodigital. So I specifically chose two very rich tools, one for literature and one for science. Just to give you an idea, let's go to the urinary system. That's important. Some of you may need to go to the bathroom shortly. And we're going to check out kidney cancer. So there's a couple of different things. It's explaining you have two kidneys, et cetera, et cetera. So there's information about all of the different systems. There is an ability to get very close in on these items. There's a community that talks about different things like how to use this, how to share it. There's a whole bunch of videos. So once you're in a different lesson plan, I would just recommend that you really take a look at one or both, Storybird or Biodigital Human. Yes?
EdHead's virtual knee surgery and virtual hip replacement. The kids can actually go in and cut the skin and move the tendons, and it's called EdHeads. And there's all kinds of virtual surgeries. They're not probably for the littlest kids. I did them with a bunch of adults last week, and some people were like bothered by it. Some people were just digging in and pulling tendons around and stuff, but it's called EdHeads, capital E. And I just looked it up under like virtual or interactive video, and it was virtual knee surgery was the one that I was most interested in. Just EdHeads. And it's under edheads.org.
Okay, I know I've gone over, but I am going to recommend tomorrow morning Jen's session at 9:30. If you're just in love with photos and want to play around and see what Google can do for you, right? And then on Thursday, a few of our favorite things is actually going to be 90 minutes. There's going to be more time for you to play with things. I'm going to have 3 other designers in the room designed to help you out specifically, and you're going to see and hear about a few of our favorite things, but then have an opportunity, again, if you like sharing, to share your favorite things. You got my email address. This is LinkedIn. I do respond to email, so if you've got questions, I'm happy to help. And I can take any questions you got now, but I know it's the end of the day. So, thanks, Dan.
That's not just our class. You didn't get a sign-in sheet for our class.
Do you have a sign-in sheet? I don't have a sign-in sheet. Do we
Make
have
one?
a sign-in sheet? I would flip it over and put 20 uses. Yeah,